used her power as governor, charged the taxpayers a per diem for 300 nights she spent at home, charged the state for flying her kids to events to which they had not been invited, and had a witch hunter pray for her in church. Yet against the backdrop of these negatives, Sarah Palin may be preparing a run for the presidency in 2012. In our fourth story in the countdown, whether McCain or Palin win or lose on Tuesday, conservatives are embracing Palin for giving them hope and, quote, something to believe in. Greg Mueller, a senior aide in the presidential campaigns of Pat Buchanan and Steve Forbes, telling Politico.com that Palin, quote, has absolutely earned a right to run in 2012. And assuming a Republican win next week, quote, if McCain decides to serve for just one term, Sarah Palin, as the economic populist and traditional American values candidate, will be very appealing by the time we get to 2012. If we get to 2012. You mean if. In the short term, the newest negative on the governor, including her reputed roguish behavior and previous accusations of diva-dom, a top unnamed McCain advisor telling Politico that they could quote him but not name him. He thereupon called her, quote, a whack job. I'm joined now by Margaret Carlson, political columnist with Bloomberg News and Washington editor of The Week magazine. Good evening, Margaret.
Hello, Keith.
A whack job. Somebody in the McCain campaign called her that? You're wondering now, aren't you, that whether or not they're trying this to win this election, but in fact whether or not they're also sort of giving away 2012 as well?
Well, the language has changed. It's gone from rogue to diva. There were about 3 people who used diva, and now it's descended to whack job. It's hard to imagine what's next. But you'll notice that nobody is blaming McCain for choosing her. It's all about Sarah Palin at this point. Soon we'll move on to it's all about McCain, but for now it's safer for the McCain people to dump on her. And it's well deserved. That roundup you gave is about a third of what was learned after a vetting was done of Sarah Palin, the vetting that John McCain didn't do. We know a lot more about her than he ever did.
Is this concept, though, among the harsher conservatives that she's really the future of the GOP, is that an accurate description, or might it be closer to last survivor, or what would it be? The last one, please turn out the lights. She, if the party is as broken as it seems to be right now, she is one person standing. But whether she gets blamed, we'll see. It looks like she's going to take a lot of the blame, at least from the McCain people who don't want it on themselves. The party's going to have years in the wilderness. They're going to have to choose who are they? Are they going to be able to pull off ever again the Wall Street and the elites getting the Elmer Gantry populist evangelical wing of the party to vote for them? I wonder, after this financial meltdown and where people are, if that's ever going to work again. If the populist evangelical group gets a hold of the party, Palin could well be the representative of that. I doubt that after this go-around that that's going to happen. What does it say about the state of the race that a week before the election, this is perhaps the secondary or tertiary topic of conversation about the Republican Party? And just as a sort of science fiction scenario, not the outcome of the election, but what would happen if this Republican Party and this team won next Tuesday? Would this schism be there on January 20th next year for a President McCain and a Vice President Palin?
Well, victory tends to heal a lot of wounds. However, if the White House were run the way the campaign were run, that would be very bad for the country. Just the way McCain tried to run the financial crisis and the bailout bill. These were not good moments for him, and this does not bode well. George Will called it operatic behavior. The idea of Sarah Palin being close to the presidency after her performance, because remember, we didn't know anything about her. She started high, she's come down low. The immediate reason for having her worked for John McCain. He got some crowds. It wasn't quite as sad a campaign, but boy, did he pay a price for this. And the next stage is going to be the blaming of McCain for choosing Sarah Palin. And if Sarah Palin comes out of this as anything, I think it's going to. She'll go back to Alaska. She might get reelected, but remember, the papers up there are not pro-Sarah Palin. She's been vetted in a way she wasn't before she had the vice presidential nomination. She's in favor of, she hasn't called for Ted Stevens to step aside. She is part of an Alaska oil politics that means maybe she doesn't get reelected. But I see her as a game show host. I do not see her as a presidential candidate.
I think there are a couple of things in TV she might do before a game, but she finally gets her. Maybe she'll go to SportsCenter. She'll finally get her wish. Margaret Carlson of Bloomberg News. Thank you, Margaret.